Okay, everybody, let's do a couple of examples. And the homework, don't worry about the homework. I mean, you can try those and get as many done as you can if you're bored, but believe me, anything that we do now is ahead of the game. So it's not like we're doing new material. We're just doing simply just some review things, and we're catching up on some trig concepts that maybe eluded us before. So no new teaching. Excuse me. All right. So picking up our examples, the first examples that we did were simple one substitution. Let me go ahead and fix the focus here. Okay, there we go. Simple one substitution, and then all of a sudden the answer was 1, because when I multiply sine by its reciprocal, of course the answer is 1. 4 times 1/4 is 1. 5 times 1/5 is 1. Okay, but now let's look at something that is a little less, is a little bit less, straightforward. All right, so when we look at this, let's go ahead and let's see what this expression, when we simplify it, let's see what happens. Now, there are a few different ways to go here, and that's what students don't like about this, is the fact that there are multiple paths to get to the same answer. Some of them work nice and easy, and some of them don't. So just because you choose a path doesn't mean it's going to be the easiest path. Okay? I apologize for the sound quality on this. I'm sounding really grainy, and I apologize for that, but yeah, I guess we'll do what we can. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a substitution for tangent x. Okay? Now, if you recall, what are my choices for tangent? I can substitute 1 over cotangent. Okay, likewise for cotangent, I can substitute 1 over tangent. Or I can also substitute sine over cosine. Okay? Now, when excuse me. When I'm first starting out, maybe I do, and I'll show you, I guess, multiple paths, but the first thing I'm going to do is get everything into terms of sine and cosine. Okay? We'll talk about some strategies here in a minute. So I'm going to substitute sine x over cosine x for tangent. Likewise, for cotangent, I'm going to substitute cosine x over sine x. Okay, so what did we use? Okay, we used our quotient identities. Okay, we substituted, since these are all equal, equality works both ways. When I see sine over cosine of theta, I can put in tangent of theta. When I see cosine theta over sine theta, I can put in cotangent theta. So when you look at this, all of these are legal substitutions. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see what happens. Now, I have a fraction plus a fraction, so immediately my instinct is to, yep, you guessed it, add fractions. Okay, so I'm going to cross multiply and multiply across. Sine x times sine x is sine squared x. Cosine x times cosine x is cosine squared x. Over cosine x times sine x. Okay. Now at this point, I want to direct your attention to the Pythagoreans. Okay? Anytime that I see squares, I think Pythagorean identities. Okay? Now if you notice, sine squared plus cosine squared is equal to 1. That means that we can take this numerator and we can substitute excuse me, 1 for sine squared plus cosine squared. Okay, which leaves us now with 1 over cosine x times sine x. 1 over cosine x is secant. 1 over sine x is cosecant. And so our expression simplified to secant x times cosecant x. Okay, so let's go on to the next example, number 5. FOIL problem. We can FOIL these things. We can divide these things. I don't like FOIL, of course. We'll just distribute, but whatever. Yes, I'm still drinking coffee. All right. Here we go. So let's do a little distributive action. 1 times 1 is 1. And then we have 1 times sine theta is sine theta. Negative sine theta times 1 is negative sine theta. And negative sine theta times sine theta is negative sine squared theta. Now notice, again, the squared goes where? Excuse me, it goes with the sine. Okay, so sine, excuse me, positive sine, negative sine, add them together, they equal nothing. So this is simplifies to 1 minus sine squared theta. What did we say that 1 minus sine squared theta was? Look at your sheet. Sine squared theta is 1 minus cosine squared theta. 1 minus sine squared theta is equal to cosine squared theta. So this is equal to cosine squared theta. There you go. It's weird to think that we started with a FOIL problem and we ended just with one single trig function. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to use a property in number 6 here. I'm going to use a property of fractions. Since this has a common denominator, I'm going to separate this. Okay. Here we go. So when we look at this, we're going to use a property of fractions since this has a common denominator. So we're going to separate this into 1 over sine theta minus sine theta over sine theta, which would be 1 over sine theta minus 1, which is, oh, we need a substitution. 1 over sine theta. Do you remember? Cosecant theta is equal to 1 over sine theta minus 1. We have our simplified answer. There we go. We'll come back with some more examples after these brief messages.